I think the Sisi regime felt threatened because that's the nature of the current regime that we have now in Egypt. Now, in case your viewers didn't know, there were calls for breaking the siege on Gaza, and campaigners around the world have been trying to mobilize in order to march on the border. So there were two routes, more or less. There was a convoy that was coming from Tunis, mainly carrying North African activists. And then there were other international activists who arrived at the Cairo airport over the past couple of days, coming from Europe, from Asia, and from other parts of the world. The regime in Egypt, which evolved out of the 2013 military coup, its raison d'être is eradicating all forms of dissent in the country. Um, Egypt is living under repressive laws that amount to martial law. The assembly of Egyptians in general is outlawed and banned. Even our football tournament, I mean, the Egyptian League, is played with only very symbolic presence of fans. Any form of crowds in general, the regime is very allergic to. And this is not just embedded in the regime's propaganda, but even if you look at how cities, especially urban centers like Cairo, have been restructured and replanned after the coup, they are basically designed so as not to allow the assembly of citizens in any public spaces. So the regime acted in a knee-jerk reaction, which was kind of expected, to be honest. On the one hand, the convoy that's coming from Tunisia has stopped at the Egyptian-Libyan border. And according to news reports that came out yesterday, the Egyptians did ask the Libyan authorities not to give them passage. And at the same time, the regime's publicists, like media figures associated with the regime, have been lambasting, I mean, such attempts and such initiatives. And they are accusing those activists of being part of a conspiracy to embarrass Egypt. And who's behind this conspiracy? It's a wide array of actors from the Muslim Brotherhood all the way to Israel itself. I mean, believe it or not, the regime publicists are claiming that this is part of a conspiracy by Israel to create chaos on the border so as to facilitate the transfer of the Palestinians. Um, this is the kind of low grade and cheap propaganda that we have in Egyptian media at the moment. At the same time, simultaneously, international activists who've been arriving at the Cairo airport, these today, yesterday, and over the past couple of days, have been stopped. Anyone who's wearing a Palestinian scarf was heavily searched and deported right away. Some were kept in custody, some were taken into custody, but at the airport, we have like a small detention facility, and that's where they have been kept. The nationalities of the detained activists varied. There were French activists who've been detained, Turks, Algerians, Moroccans, Tunisians, and most of them have already been deported right away as I'm speaking to you. Some were even deported on the same flights that they had arrived on. Since the start of the war, the Egyptian regime has shut down the Rafah crossing, and only allowed aid in whenever Israel permitted Sisi to do so, and only allowed the exit of Palestinians from Gaza into Egypt, also with the permission of the Israeli military, in addition to the scandalous, of course, attitude of extorting Palestinians for money, those who were desperate to flee. Now, the Egyptian regime claims that I cannot allow the aid in, I cannot allow the convoys in, or else the Israelis will bomb it. Well, guess what? I mean, in the previous wars between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza, Egypt never asked in its history for Israeli permission to allow anyone in or out of this Egyptian Palestinian crossing at the end of the day. Now, Sisi has departed from that tradition, and it's partially because he's a coward, and partially because it is a regime that's largely been enabled by foreign support. So it's not strong enough and lacks domestic legitimacy. If Sisi was sincere about trying to disrupt Israel's transfer plans, he would have led personally a convoy spearheaded by himself into Gaza and then daring the Israelis to bomb it.